right. Well, today we're going to continue working on forces on October 15th. Remember the forces that we discussed yesterday was push and pull. And some other forces that act upon that are gravity and friction. What you're going to do here is we're going to watch this video and discuss some more of the other options of it. We're going to start this from the beginning. And while we do this, I just need you to watch this, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next.
If I'm ever going to get moving on this swing, I'm going to need a force to get me started. Do you want to help me out? That's fine. I can do it myself. I wonder if this is what my friend meant about swinging actually being work.
Hey, Candia.
Hey!
You know, I wasn't talking about classwork or what people mean when they say they're going to work.
So you were using another definition of work.
I'm talking about the work that happens when force is used to move an object over a distance.
Okay, so gravity is pulling us towards the center of the earth, and our inertia is keeping us still.
But if we get a push or use our legs to push and pull, that force moves us through the air.
And we are the objects moving, so that makes swinging my kind of work.
Can you think of other examples of work? Objects being moved by force?
Think about sports for a second. I bet you can picture a ball moving from one position to another when it is pushed or pulled by a player.
Take soccer, for example. This athlete is doing work to get the ball into the goal. He's using his foot to push the ball, and that force is causing it to move towards the net. I hope the goalkeeper is ready to stop the ball's inertia.
In baseball, the ball can be put into motion when it is thrown or hit with the bat. When the players use their muscles to apply a pushing force, the ball changes position. It can be thrown to second base to get a player out, or it can be hit into the bleachers for a home run.
Hey, there's a basketball. Want to shoot some hoops?
Sure, I love basketball, and it will give us some more examples of force in motion. When I shoot the ball, I have to give it a little push, sending it toward the net. Oops, you know, if we don't use enough pushing force, the pull of gravity brings the ball down before it gets to the hoop. Hey Sarah, why don't you give it a try? Nice one. My turn. So remember to use a little more force than the last time. If it goes a little past the hoop, the backboard is there to change the ball's direction. Yes! I guess practice does make perfect.
I thought of one more example. Have you ever watched her play tennis?
Yeah. Players use their rackets to push the ball across the court, changing its position and direction so their opponent can't reach it in time to hit it back.
They are trying to use just enough force on the ball. Too much of a push with their racket will cause the ball to travel outside the court. Too little force might not go over the net in the middle.
Many athletes practice a lot to understand the principles of force and motion and use their knowledge and skills to help them play well.
Speaking of that, I've got to go to practice. See ya.
We saw in our sports examples how an object's direction can be changed with a pushing or pulling force. Kicking a ball in a net can be a fun kind of work, but what about when you have a tough job to do? Especially if you have to move something with a lot of mass, the force of gravity and friction can make the task difficult. Thankfully, there are tools that can help us do the work. That is, to help move an object over a distance without using as much force. Think about a construction site that uses materials with a lot of mass, like this brick. The force of gravity pulling on a brick makes it much more work to lift and move than something with less mass, like this ball. Also, if I try to push the brick across the surface, the flat surface slides instead of rolling like a ball would. The contact between the table and the rough brick causes friction, a force which works against motion. Good thing we have tools like wagons and wheelbarrows to help make work easier. Tools and machines with wheels, levers, inclined planes, and pulleys can help make work easier. You've probably seen pulleys on things like flagpoles or construction cranes. If you keep your eyes open, you will see tons of examples of work being done around you. Just look for those pushes and pulls that make things move. If you want to email us with some photos or examples that you find, you can send them to Perry at the address on the screen. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, so just thinking about some of the things that we discussed, I wanted to show you now the next part. And the next part would be coming here and based off the data, oh, not that, just kidding. That button I need. So based on the data here, pushes and pull cause an object to change position and move. The greater the mass of an object, the greater the force needed to move the object. Based on the data below, the things that I'm pointing to, which of the objects requires the greatest amount of the force to move it? Looking at this information, choose which one you would put in there. And then the same thing, taking that same piece of information, and which object will take the least amount of force to move. So remember, the greater the mass, the greater the force needed to move. The least amount of force to move, it would be the least amount of mass. All right, we will see you tomorrow.